and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi, Schultz Ford, schultzford.com. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star, and I can promise you this next half an hour is going to be fun because I think when Richard and the old 2-9er get together, I think I should just shut up and let you guys go because you guys are hilarious.
You know, the basis of that is a great friendship that's evolved and developed over a few years. And, you can see that and hear it even in the commercials we do together. Phil and I did something last week for the season that that is it's the commercial is pure chaos.
It is amazing, and I love it, and I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, and that means Kara and Chelsea are doing a great job if you saw it. But yeah, I mean, we have such fun. But I also come away every time I see or talk to Phil, I come away with this amazing feeling of how much I respect him because of where he's been, what he's done, and what he's currently doing. And the knowledge that he has of the game, the knowledge that he has of who he is in this life. He's got 2 young children now, right, Phil? How many?
4. He's got 4.
Oh, come on.
You're not a real friend if you thought there were 2.
Well, no, why? Because there's such a gap. I have a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old.
Well, I was talking about young.
Okay, and then I got the 4-year-old and the 2-year-old.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
And Phil is already now he's proven he's crazy.
No, but listen, we're going to come back.
That's certifiable.
We're going to talk about one of your sons who's got a lot of promise as a hockey player, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be brief. My 19-year-old, he's a goalie. Don't ask me. It's another whole segment. But if you met him for 30 seconds, you'd be like, he's a goalie. So he's up in Niagara Falls. Yeah, 19 years old, playing junior A hockey. He's pretty good. I don't know if he's going to be an NHLer. I don't really care. I just want him to have fun and try to live his dream. And whatever happens, happens. But you remember Frank Pietrangelo, the Save, Penguins goaltender. He's from Niagara Falls, Canada. And for a long time, he was a player agent, mostly working with players that were playing overseas in the European leagues. He got tired of doing that. So he bought the local hockey team, got in partnership with a local lawyer, and he's not only the part owner, he's not only the general manager, but he's the head coach. And my son's playing for Frank Pietrangelo.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's amazing. Like, Frankie and I go way back. We played in Muskegon in the minor leagues together. And then obviously in Pittsburgh, won the cup in 91 together. And he's a dear friend of mine. And yeah, man, my son, he's living in $1 million house right on Lake Erie with 3 other teammates. I mean, I lived in a small, I played junior hockey also, and I lived in a basement with no windows with the Billet family I lived with. But here's the thing. He doesn't live with a Billet family. He's just himself and 3 other teammates. As one of his teammates, the family owns the summer house on the lake. This kid is living his best life.
Oh, my God.
Aren't you proud of that? That sounds
it's
so
awesome.
Cool.
It's
awesome. Really is. And when you talk about it, you do it with such pride. You glow. And that's really about chasing your passion.
I do have to ask you, though, have you gone on the ice and tried to shoot against them?
A while back. But you know what? I'm just the old guy now. I'm like, you know, like when you have a successful parent, you hear this all the time. Like, your kids don't think of you as on this platform or on this level of, oh, you played professional hockey for 18 years. My kid doesn't give a hoot about that. I mean, he does. He respects it, and he respects my opinion because I've had experiences. But at the end of the day, I'm just dad. I'm just dad, and I'm to the point now where he has gotten to a level and gone up, and I've gone to a level down that I don't know if I'd want to go on the ice because I think he'd absolutely stone me right now.
That's awesome.
Isn't that cool? But you and I do have a challenge, right? That you and I are going to.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. We're going to get you on the ice, and I'm going to teach you how to shoot and how to score. And I don't know if we're going to go bar down or top shelf. We'll take baby steps with this, Richard. But yeah, that's my goal. That's my goal this season is to get you on the ice and teach you how to shoot.
Time out. Richard, I have to ask you this question. Have you ever once in your life ever put on skates and actually skated on ice at any point in your entire life?
Probably when I was 12 at South Park.
Wow.
This is absolutely old 2-9. This is not happening. This is
I'm
a
gonna-
0.0 chance of this happening. 0.0 chance of this happening.
Okay, Bubba, why don't you do it with me and I'll skate circles around.
Done. Listen, I'll do it tomorrow. Listen, you got to tell me twice. I'll do it tomorrow.
I have a private personal coach, though.
I know. Listen.
That
I know.
sounds like a challenge, man. Don't challenge me like that.
I own a restaurant inside a rink. I got ISO whenever you want it. I got it available.
Can we talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins, please?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about them. And Phil, so by the way, to anybody that's listening, anybody that cares, when we referenced the commercial that Phil and I did, it was complete chaos, and it was such a brilliant analysis at the end of it that makes it all make sense. I really liked it. And so just kind of pay attention to that. But when I was there, I asked you a question again. My hockey IQ goes sky high when I'm around you. And my question to you was, what about our future? What's our youth look like?
Yeah.
And you gave me a couple names that, forgive me, I didn't remember. So can you tell all of us the prospects that you are really high on, Phil?
Oh, Richard and Bubba, you guys have known me long enough that, I don't like to sugarcoat things. I like to just get right to the point, whether we're talking about life or we're talking about hockey. And I'll honestly say 3 years ago, if you asked me that question and I was sitting here with you guys, I'd have a different answer for you, because I'd be honest with you and just say, we have nothing. And that's no disrespect to the players we had down in Wilkes-Barre. Nothing in the sense of we have nothing coming down the pipeline to get you jumping up and down and get you giddy about. We had maybe one, maybe two guys that if somebody got injured, they could come up, they could play, and they could fill the void. Excuse me. I can honestly tell you, look you straight in the eye and tell you, we have at least half a dozen, if not 8 or 9 players that are ready to kick the door wide open and be regular NHLers and be the future Pittsburgh Penguins. I couldn't say that to you 2 or 3 years ago. So that's a tip of the Jofa to Kyle Dubas and the kind of work he's done underneath the radar, where a lot of people, I think still because of his time as a Toronto Maple Leaf general manager and not getting the job done there in the Stanley Cup, because they're kind of Stanley Cup or bust. I think a lot of people still want to bash Kyle. They don't want to give him any kind of flowers at all. And I'm here to do that. I'm just saying this guy has methodically taken steps forward to not only put a good product on the ice, and it's a good product. Listen, I know we haven't made the playoffs in 3 years, Richard, but there's still, when you look at this team on
the old 2-9er kind of went dark there for a second. I think he lost his signal.
And the names that you're referencing, Harrison Brunick, Ben Kindle, who played a great game last night, he's a first-round pick from last summer's draft. He might make the hockey team. Now, will he play just the 9 games to preserve his entry-level contract? That's another conversation. But Harrison Brunick, he's a right-hand shooting defenseman. He's the real deal. Is there a place for him? Because we're loaded with right-hand shooting defensemen. Owen Pickering is a left-hand shooting defenseman. Another first-round pick who's knocking on the door. You have guys like Ville Koivunen. He's ready to rock and roll. Guys like Philip Hollander. Man, did he look good last night. So these are just some of the names that when you're sitting around the breakfast table eating your Cheerios, you're going to start talking about, because these guys are either going to make the team this year or they're going to be in the lineup in the very near future.
Okay, if you're just tuning in, on with us is the old 2-9er. Phil Bourque. We're talking about cars, stars, and everything in between. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the Penguins. Plus, we have a mutual friend that in common that I want to talk about, who I just ran into and caught up with. We'll talk about that all next. Cars, stars, and everything in between on 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA.
Yeah, I lost it.
Wait, we're good.
Phil, every name you said when I chat GPT Pittsburgh Penguins young players is on here. Everybody you mentioned, young players with promise. Where are you, by the way? Are you here? Phil, are you in Pittsburgh?
He said he lost that. He can't hear us.
Can you hear us, Phil?
Yeah.
Interesting. Let me see. Is there a mute over there or something that happened to him? Let me see here. I wonder if he muted himself. Or I wonder if he turned his speaker off.
I don't know how to communicate with him. I can text him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just tell him all about.
Okay. Kara's got it.
Sorry,
Kara,
guys.
it's okay. That's okay. Kara, are you texting him? And if not, we can just run 2 9-minute segments of the same thing.
I can hear you guys.
Can you hear
Beautiful.
us, Phil?
Yep.
All right,
Good, good. Yep.
let's get
Good.
rolling. Here we go. 100.1 FM and 1020 KDK. This is Car Stars and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star. Old 29er on with us. So I ran into a mutual friend of ours who was one of my favorite people in the world, who I spent many summers with because I coached his son at baseball, Brian Trottier. And I ran into him 2 weeks ago, and talk about somebody who was amazingly talented in hockey, but just an amazing person. And since I coached his son Christian in baseball, we would spend summers having a couple alcoholic beverages, and he would tell me the greatest stories of all time. And just some of them are outstanding. Did you guys have as much fun playing hockey back in the day as he led me to believe through all these conversations and stories?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. What an incredible human being. 7-time Stanley Cup champion, 6 as a player, once as an assistant coach. What people forget, because it's almost another generation away from us, is before Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux came into the league as elite center icemen, Brian Trottier was that guy.
Yep.
He was the guy. He was the number 1 center iceman, one of the best players on one of the greatest lines in the history of the game, playing with, Mike Bossy. And as far as a human being, he changed, and a person and a hockey player. He changed the culture. He changed that locker room. I'll give a little tip of the cap also to Paul Coffey. And really, between Paul Coffey and Brian Trottier, they brought a winning culture to the Pittsburgh Penguins that I think still is there. It still kind of lingers just because of what Trotz did. And he has a way about him, as you know. He's not a yeller. He's not a screamer. He's not a high energy guy. He's just very cerebral. He's very passionate. And he knows how to win. That's the simplest way to put it. He knows what it takes to win, and he knows a way to tell you individually or as a group of, hey guys, walk this way over here. Follow this path over here. This is the path to victory. This is the path to championships. And we're just so lucky to have him. I still, to this day, Bubba, I can't believe the New York Islanders kind of dropped the ball with their contract negotiations. I think he was 32 at the time when he came as a Pittsburgh Penguin, and he just fell on our lap. And boy, what a incredible person, incredible hockey player.
Earlier I was going to say earlier we talked about the young guys coming up. Can a guy like Brian Trottier interact with these guys and put what he knows onto them?
That's a great question. The 2025 athlete is a lot different than any other. I'm not going to say they think they know it all, but the mindset has changed a bit, if you know where I'm going with this.
Oh yeah.
So I'm dancing around your question to give you a good answer. I don't think that Brian Trottier could deliver the message to the athlete in 2025 the way he could in 91 or even 2000, just because times have changed. And a lot of players, I bet you a lot of players don't really know who Brian Trottier is. A lot of players don't study the game and know the history of the game like Sid does, and appreciate and have respect for players that paved the path for them to walk on now.
So who was the coach at that time when we had him?
First it was Badger Bob Johnson, and then Scotty Bowman.
Wow. So I didn't live here at the time, so I don't really remember much about that, and I didn't really follow hockey at the time. But of course, I hear all of this, and Phil, where does Sidney Crosby fall in all that? When you start talking about the greatest, you
Yeah,
talk about Mario, you talk
yeah,
about Wayne. Where does Sidney fall into all that
yeah.
conversation?
This whole thing where they want to have a Mount Rushmore of football, Mount Rushmore of hockey.
It's hard.
It's hard. I just think when you think of the greatest, and now you have Connor McDavid in that conversation, and a lot of people say, "Well, I never saw Gordie Howe play. Why do people think Gordie?" I was actually at a golf event not that long ago, and I talked to Brian Trottier, and I said, "Hey, Trotz, I don't really remember Gordie Howe that much either. Like, does Gordie Howe belong in that conversation with Mario and Gretzky and Sid and McDavid and Bobby Orr? I mean, those are the guys for me, right?"
Yeah.
And he said, Borky, you have no idea how good this guy was.
And by the way,
It's the way
he played into his
50s, yeah.
years old.
52, yeah.
He went into his 52.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's very Yager-like, right? As Yager, I think, is 52 now. He's going to be 53 in February. I don't know how much. I know he is playing a little bit for that team in Kladno that he co-owns. But, yeah, to be in your 50s and playing at that level, incredible. So I think just because I got that endorsement from Brian Trottier that you have to put – so the Mount Rushmore is what, 4 people, right?
Yeah,
In
Probably.
what's it, in South Dakota? Is that right?
that is correct.
Right? Like the hockey round Mount Rushmore is probably 6 or 7 guys because you have to have Mario and Wayne in there, right? Now, does Yager belong up there for all the incredibleness that he's done? You have to have Bobby Orr, 100% Bobby Orr up there. And now you're talking about Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid. You know, who's next on that? And I think the one thing that separates everything else, and I don't know where you guys fall on this, and maybe it's easier for me to say because I won championships, but I think to be on that Mount Rushmore, don't you have to win at least one championship?
Yes,
Yes.
Because
100%.
the guy who has not won a championship is Connor McDavid.
correct.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense. But you do have to have had some success at that level. In order to be a winner, you have to be a winner, right?
Yeah, not individual, and that's not. Listen, Connor McDavid is flipping unbelievable. I've never seen a guy skate that fast with the puck on his stick. But that's the word right there. That 3-letter word. When we talk about Dan Marino, what do you say after Dan Marino?
But he never
What?
won a Super Bowl.
But he never won the Super Bowl, right? And so, are people going to say that about Connor McDavid? And
Yes.
say Connor McDavid this and Connor McDavid that. And look at the stats over here, and look at how fast he could skate. But he never won a championship.
He never won a championship.
Does that
And,
matter?
yeah, 100% matters. 100%. And
No,
and
let me cut you off
today's
1 second,
athlete-
Richard. Let me cut you off 1 second. I just need to say
ahead.
this because last year we were playing in Edmonton, and it was after the morning skate, and I pulled Sidney Crosby aside, and I said, "Sid, I got to ask you this. Do you think if Connor never won a Stanley Cup, do you think there would be the word 'but' after his name?" And he says, I get where you're going with this. And he said, no. And he says, this is why I'll say no, is because he won the Conn Smythe when this team lost. And that counts for something. A team that was down 3-0 2 years ago to the Florida Panthers, took it all the way to a game 7, lost that game 7, but he was named the Conn Smythe, which is the MVP of the playoffs. That should count for something, even though if he never wins a Stanley Cup.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I think about that. Sydney, if you somehow see this, you're wrong. And you know why you're wrong, Sydney? Because you would have said there is no but after his name, no matter what, because you're a class act.
Yeah.
And that's who you are, and that's
Yeah.
what you do. So
Yeah.
and I believe that. I
Yeah, you're
believe
right.
there is no way Sidney Crosby would have responded to you by saying, yes, there will be a but.
You're right, Richard. You're right on. You're bang on.
Bingo.
100%.
Ain't happening.
It's hard to
And
believe that in my entire career on the radio, I've never met Sidney Crosby. It's
What?
just amazing.
I've never met him either. I've never met
listen,
him either.
I apparently he listens to Bubba's show when he's in town, and I've never met him. I've heard that he listens and he loves his show, but I've never met him. Is that crazy? As long as he's been here and I've been here,
I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised because Sid is a creature of habit, number one. We heard all about his routine / superstitions, but he doesn't put himself out there. I think part of it's not that easy for him. I mean, yeah, he can walk through downtown Swickley and go get a coffee and stuff like that. But I think he picks and chooses very carefully and what situations he puts himself in and how much he puts himself out there. And he's certainly not introverted in any way, where Mario maybe was a bit. Mario, I say introverted, but I think I mean more shyness, just natural shyness. Sid is a
Humility.
little more outgoing, but have you ever heard about, I saw Sidney Crosby at, so-and-so concert. He was
Never.
hammered. Oh, I saw Sidney. You've never heard one
Never.
bad word. And that's just the path that Sidney Crosby walks down and the sandals that he wears, that he's always very aware and very cognizant of his, the perception that he gives off in the situations he puts himself in.
And his responsibility as a professional athlete.
Wow.
He's just the
100%.
humility, and I've never met him either, which
Hey-
is I hate, but I
Hey,
never
Richard,
have.
I'm
Yeah.
going to make a recommendation. We need
Yeah.
to have Bourque back again. I mean, we need to do multiple shows with
Well,
this.
yeah, and the great thing about this, Phil, is we're talking about people. People are
Yeah.
the create the structure to anything, and whether it's a sports team, whether it's a successful business, the people to process the structure, and that's what we're talking about. We start talking about your son, we start talking about your history, we start talking about the history that does portend the future, and as we go forward in this conversation, it just excites me, and it's so easy to talk to Phil Bourque.
It
And
is.
he's such a wealth of knowledge, and he's humble. He's everything that we just talked about Sydney being. Phil Bourque is his humility is great. He's just a fabulous person.
And that's Cars, Stars, and everything in between on 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA.